Hello, everybody. Namaskar. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. This is our fourth lecture in the series of the Wasteland. And in the last section, we were talking about, I think we ended the first section, that is the burial of the dead, and we started with a game of chess. And I already had taught the first part and then the second part also. Uh, Now, let us move to the next part of this poem. Now, this is all you are present and kindly show your presence. Good morning. And yeah, so as I told you that this wasteland, the writer T.S. Eliot wants to show that from spiritual barrenness and the perverse nature of the sexual perverse nature of humanity all over the world. Though the writer is talking about particularly England, but the references of the other cities and the allusions, the examples from the past, like from mythology, from the earlier works of the writers, this tells us that this writer is what he wants to convey, that this sexual perversion, this sexual and spiritual degeneration is perpetual. It is continuously going on. It writer wants to convey that it is not the modern man who is sexually perverted. He wants to convey, though he wants to convey this message that somewhere after industrialization, man has really perverted, and to show this, he wants to stress that. But when he gives us examples from the mythology or examples from the, for example, Tiresias, the main interlocutor in this poem, or one who is the narrator of this poem, he says that he has foresuffered all these things. So somewhere the writer wants to convey that this sexual perversity, this sexual and spiritual degeneration has been with human being since ages, and to control it, he gives us the ultimate message at the end of the last section of the poem. So now I'm reading, come to this line, when in the second part of the poem, in the end, when Lil's husband got demobbed. This is the section. Now the writer has created a scene here. Two women are talking in a cheap kind of restaurant, and one woman's name is Lil. Now, what the other is saying, she says that when Lil's husband got demobbed. Demobbed means when war is over and soldiers are, they are sent home back. So they get demobbed. I said I did not mince my words. Now she's narrating this. She says that without restraining myself, I told Lil, I said to her myself. After this line, there is a line in capital letters, hurry up, please, it is time. Now this is, it means they are sitting in the restaurant very late in the night, and they are no more allowed to sit there. So you can imagine that, it must be like, 10 o'clock, and according to the age, 100 years back, when suppose the situation was there, because we are studying this poem in 2020, and this poem was published in 1921. So you can just imagine, like, 100 years back. The timings in the restaurant might be like 8 o'clock, or say 7 o'clock, or might be 9 o'clock, I think. So what these two women very late in the pub doing, or in the restaurant, what are they doing? So there is a call for final warning. Hurry up, please, it is time. It may be the ultimate call of God, might be, because as I told you that the poem is symbolic in nature. So it might be the call of God, who says that hurry up, it is time. It means God is warning us that it is your time and better you improve yourself. But the dramatic setting in this section, it tells us that, the two women are talking, and let us look into the matter, like what they are talking. Now Albert is coming back, make yourself a bit smart. One friend tells the other one that you don't look smart, make smart, because your husband is coming. He will want to know what you done with that money he gave you. And they are, busy in the personal tete-a-tete. and personal communication. And I think the other one is saying that she her husband gave her some money last time, and what have you done with that money? It means, why have you not spent that money on your cosmetics, so that you look so ugly, you look so bad? So she says that to get yourself some teeth. We get to know that these women are not old, but one of them has no teeth, and she says that to get yourself some teeth, he did means the other says that she's insisting that a husband before leaving gave some money to wife so that she can get some nice set of teeth. I was there, and then she's insisting that I was there with you. You have them all out. Them is used for teeth, that your teeth are all out, Lil, and get a nice set. This time you should get a nice set of dentures. Uh, he said, I swear. Then it means, in this kind of dialogue, it is a dramatic monologue actually, because one person is speaking and the other person who is speaking is not entered into the communication, but we understand, like, what she must be saying. I swear. It means, now she's insisting that, when the wife denies that, he did not give any money for a set of teeth, but she says that, no, 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 he did give you money. I swear, I can't bear to look at you. And this, the other woman says that I cannot bear to look at you. It means like you look so ugly. And no more can't I. Her husband said by then that he was unable to look at her face because now this is the relationship degeneration. What kind of degeneration this dialogue suggests to us? The dialogue suggests that in a husband-wife relationship, it is more of a bond of love, more of a bond of faith, and here they are more inclined towards outward concerns, that is a physical concern. So somewhere the writer is giving, like a classical poet is giving us a message that there is no spiritual bond between the husband and wife, and they are more concerned about the physical attractions. And now let us read again ahead and come to know, like, what made a young woman look ugly without teeth. What was wrong with her teeth? So she says that you to get yourself some teeth. I'm reading now. He did. I was there. You have them all out, Lil, and get a nice set. He said, I swear, I can't bear to look at you, and no more can't I said, and think of poor Albert. When I can't look at you, then just think about your husband. He won't be able to look at you. It means the central point of this communication is physical attraction, physical beauty. And no more can't I said, and think of poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years. He wants a good time. It means he has been coming back after 4 years. And if you don't give it him, if the one friend is saying to other, if you don't give good time to your husband. Now, good time under inverted commas, in inverted commas, because good time here means to say the sexual time, the sexual pleasure. There is others, well, I said. Now, let me remind you that there was a question in net exam few years back, that out of the 5 sections of the Wasteland, in which section the writer has used non-standard form of English. Now look at this particular line. There is others. The correct grammatical form should be there are others. So this is ungrammatical, or say non-standard or substandard. Now what is the significance of using substandard or ungrammatical English over here? Again, you should remember this, that these days, generation in America, Australia, and all the developed countries, and even in all the other countries who were in, the colonies of the developed countries earlier, wherever English is there, they, in the name of modernity, have started using experiment with the language, and they start using very say perverted language. Perversion is here not only the perversion, or degeneration is not only the degeneration of the soul or spirit. The writer wants to convey that the linguistic degeneration is also a sexual, or say spiritual degeneration. Let me link it with, now there is a particular thing, because I'm concerned with all the students who are preparing for net kind of high kind of exam. There is a concept, Sapir-Whorf theory. You can write it down. Sapir-Whorf theory. Sapirwhorf Sapir-Whorf theory. Sapir-Whorf theory says, it is a linguistic theory. It says that your thinkings, are molded by your use of words and vice versa. It means if you use uh, good words, then your ideas become good, and if your ideas are good, your language will be good. Here, I'm not talking about good or bad language. I'm talking about standard or substandard language. It is said that if you use bad language, if you use unstructured language, then automatically your thinking will become unstructured somewhere. And because, as you know, that T.S. Eliot is a classicist kind of poet. He's a modern writer, but he says that I'm a classicist in literature, I am Catholic in religion, and I'm royalist in politics. That is the famous sentence. And this has also been asked in the exam, the sentence I spoke just now. So, this substandard variety shows that these people belong to lower stratum of society. As I told you earlier, that in this poem, the writer has shown upper class of society on very few places, but he has mostly been concerned. He is concerned with the lower stratum of society. I hope you understand this point. So, um, and now I'm reading. And if you don't give it to him, there is others will, I said. It means if you don't give, if wife does not give good time to husband, then others will give. It means the husband will go out of marriage and he will engage himself, indulge himself in extramarital affairs, or say illicit relationships. And that is also with the direct knowledge, in the knowledge of his wife. Oh, is there, she said. And then the two friends are talking in a friendly manner, and then she asks, the other friend asks, like, oh, is it so? Something of that, I said. Then is it something of that, or something of that is also substandard form of English. Then I will know who to thank. And the friend says, the wife says to the other, that I know that whom I should thank. It means the writer has also said, let me give you one example. It is said that when we talk about sex, or say when we want to have some bedroom talks with somebody, there is nothing wrong if two friends are talking who are very close to each other. But that kind of communication where one is talking about sharing her husband with the other, it is a kind of, the writer says that, it is something beyond the spiritual content of marriage. And that's why it is objectionable from writer's point of view. Then I will know who to thank, she said, and give me a straight look. The wife gave straight look to the friend who is sitting with her in the restaurant. Hurry up, please. It is the second time that the warning calls come that they are going to close the restaurant. If you don't like it, you can get on with it, I said. If you don't like, then the two friends are talking that if you don't like means if you don't like this new set of teeth, then you just remain the way you are. Others pick and choose, and others can pick and choose if you can't. It means if you don't have choice, if you don't want to make yourself attractive to your husband, then he can choose. Now this is again the perversion of the sanctity of marriage. Sanctity of marriage in the sense that it is considered that in marriage you take oaths in church when you marry, that if something wrong happens with your partner, then you will be with him or her. But here what they are doing, they are talking about changing partners. This means they are going beyond the spiritual or the sanctity of marriage, purity of marriage. So others can pick and choose if you can't. But if Albert makes off, and then she warns the wife that if Albert makes off, means if Albert goes out of marriage, it won't be for lack of telling. Then don't tell me that I did not inform you. You ought to be ashamed. Now she goes very personal and says that you should be ashamed of yourself, I said, to look so antique. Antique means old, that you look so old. Now this is again something to talk about. With modern man, there is something wrong. Like wrong in the sense that we people have seen the mushrooming of beauty parlors, saloons, and Sapir-Whorf theory I already explained. Sapir-Whorf theory is a theory where your words change your ideas, means your ideas are affected by the words or the language you use, and vice versa. This is so simple, in so simple a language, the linguistic theory, that your ideas are affected by your use of language, and your use of language will ultimately pollute your ideas if you use the wrong language. So, what I'm talking about, we have saloons, we have beauty parlors, we have gyms all around us, and we have started paying more attention to our outward things, our flesh, this body. This body is more important for the modern people. And for example, I mostly give this example, like most of the time when I go to marriage parties somewhere, suppose I'm having my dinner with my family, then suppose on the other side two boys are talking, then I have always heard that girls and boys, when they get together, I have never till today, only once it has occurred to me that I have seen new generation talking. Only once I was passing from somewhere, and I found that to a couple of or say there was a small gathering of friends, and they were talking about Tagore. But most of the time they talk about gym, they talk about shoes, they talk about girls talk about purse, they talk about the color of hair, they talk about sandals, they talk about oh, you look good. Also women are there. Even I've seen some of my professors praising the saris of each other. There is nothing wrong in that, but the thing is that we are more concerned, we have become more outward, instead of having our powers and understanding and our growth towards inside. On the contrary, we have seen our growth outward. So in these lines she says that she goes up to the extent of warning that you ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique, and her only 31, and her only 31 mean to say that this woman is, her age is not more than 31. I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face mean to say sitting like this. What should I do? It means she's helpless. So the helpless, in what sense she is helpless? She says that it is them pills, again substandard language, it is them pills is wrong English. It is them pills I took to bring it off, she said. For abortion purpose, she took certain pills. And now this is a warning. Let me give you one important lecture that how to read a text. In a poem, in a novel, in a drama, not a single word is without purpose. It is said that if you read anything which has been sanctioned, I'm not talking about blogs. These days, people have started writing blogs also, and I can't say that they are not writers, but you will become professors, and you will see that when you will do PhD, you will require many times editings in the sense that when a final version of something which is published, most of the time you must have heard from somewhere that like for example this there are all the great writers, they were not published in the very first go. The moment they submitted their a manuscript somewhere, it was rejected. And suppose the 10 people edit, 10 people review an article, then 10 people will say 10 different things. It means, and one more thing I would like to remind you of, which was a question also in our net exam, that you must be aware about Horace. Horace said that if you write a book, then keep it aside for 9 years, because in 9 years your ideas will come and go, and you will automatically feel that certain things should be changed, can be changed, and must be changed. And but we see that this modern age is in a hurry. They don't want to have patience so that certain things can be changed. They just want to get published. They want to get the unrequired fame. There are very younger age people, they are YouTubers, and everybody wants to become famous. This shows that inner lack of faith, lack of spirituality, and something is missing, that hollowness within. It requires praises from outside. Like suppose you don't praise me, then I will not become angry. Why? Because I don't find that, I whatever I'm doing, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. But suppose I require something from outside, like for example, suppose I say ask someone, like, how I'm looking. Then if somebody says that you don't look good, then I become sad. It means I'm not a critic of myself, or say I am away from reality. So what we are talking about here, that the marital relationship between this husband and wife, uh, they are in marriage, but they don't want children. It means sterile marriage. It means a marriage without any productivity. That is a very much Catholic, or say Hindu idea, Islamic idea, any idea of any religion, where they say that your sexual relationship should produce something, because that is something, attached with nature. Okay, so now don't talk about population explosion and all, because for that, we require a face-to-face discussion. Like, for example, people say that one should be non-vegetarian, because if we don't eat these goats and cocks and all, then they will increase in number. So that is something, debatable issue, that what is fit for us, what is not fit for us. But somewhere, when we talk about civilization, we are not animals. We have converted our setting as a civilization, and there are numerous civilizations throughout the world, and people have devised their own rules so that they can live peacefully. And in almost every civilization, they have stressed on the importance of spirituality. They have most in almost in all the civilizations, in all the religions, in all the cults, in all the creeds, in all the faiths, you have seen that marriage is a very, very pure thing. And killing a child through abortion, or kind of any infanticide, is condemned, religiously. And so the writer wants to convey a message through this. I think you must have understood it, that I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face. It is them pills I took to bring it off, she said. She has had five already. It means she has five children, and nearly died of young George. And when the young George was about to born, she was in the labor pains, and she died, almost died of young George. This line is in bracket, and it can be interpreted in different manners. The chemist said I would be all right, but I have never been the same. Now, this tells us that, uh, she doesn't want to, give birth to a child, and she must have gone to a chemist. He must have given her a pill, and after taking the pill, or it means in a on a regular basis, she must be taking pills. And because these pills have some wrong effect on, or say some chemical effect on her body, and she looks very old in young age. So the chemist said it would be all right, but I have never been the same. Somewhere it is a criticism on the medicine also. I would like to add here something. The comments of Mahatma Gandhi. How many of you have read about Hind Swaraj? Hind Swaraj is a cult book. It is said it's a political document, but it starts with the definition of civilization. And Mahatma Gandhi has talked about railway, the system of modernity, machinery. He has talked about the profession of a lawyer. He has talked about the profession of a doctor. And I think it is quite relevant today. Relevant today in the sense that he says in that book that doctors are not good for civilization, because in the very starting of that book he says that you call it a civilization, that on the both the sides of a road you find hospitals around you. If hospitals are around you, it means your body is at malaise, there is some disease, and it means it is not a civilization. Civilization means, and that is why I think Mahatma Gandhi talked about Hind Swaraj book. He talks about that you should not use machinery. Even he talks about the bad advantages, disadvantages of railways also. and that is proof today that coronavirus came to or spread in the world just because of this means of transportation. So when we say that we are growing somewhere, ultimately somewhere we are putting hazards on our being. So the writer wants to convey so many messages. Swine flu came, dengue came, malaria came, SARS came. These diseases came, but we have never got rid of these diseases. Now the virus has come. So the term chemist itself is a big question mark on the medical profession. From which angle? From the angle that we when we start living materialistically, when we talk about physical pleasure, physical comfort, we give birth to diseases, and then we require physicians around us. And suppose Mahatma Gandhi has given an example in Hind Swaraj, that suppose you have become prey to overeating, and you don't control yourself, you don't go to fast or observe start or start observing fast, because you feel that if you have overeaten, doctor will give you pill. It means if you already have a ready-made solution around you, you can get perverted. For example, that contraceptive pills are around us, contraceptive other materials are around us, then people have really become, now they are not afraid of that, the girl will become pregnant. So they have, indulged, they have quite often started indulging in, immoral activities. Why? Because medical science has facilitated things. So somewhere these medical profession and the things of medicine, they have made us more perverted. Just imagine just imagine about the time when these things were not there. Then people will be a bit careful, becoming immoral, because it will, otherwise the nature will make a loud noise that you did something wrong with somebody. What I say, that when you read any text, any single word has so many connotations, and that I'm teaching you. Okay, so now I'm reading from the text. You are a proper fool, I said. The two friends are talking, and she says that you are a proper. R is in italicized here. It means the writer is putting a stress on the word R, that you are a proper fool, I said. Fool in so many senses, that you want marriage, but you don't want children. Or might be she says that why there is need to take pill, because the kind of diaphragm kind of contraceptives were used in those times. So there is a hint, like that one friend is telling the other that why didn't you use any other form of contraception. Well, if Alberts won't leave you alone, there it is, I said. And then this line suggests that if your husband comes and he is always busy in the sexual activity, and you keep becoming pregnant, then it is a different thing. Well, if Albert is okay, what you get married for if you don't want children? This is the question. And this question is a big question. This is a Catholic question, as I told you, that if what you get married for if you don't want children? If you don't want children, then why you married? It means again a sterile marriage. People, you can interpret this line that it means marriage is meant for procreation. Marriage is a sanctity, a very pure, further the cause of God to increase his nature. So she's asking this question, and I think she's not asking this question. T.S. Eliot is asking this question to the whole humanity through his poem. Hurry up, please, it is time. Well, that Sunday Albert was home, then she's narrating. There was a third time call from the staff of the restaurant that you should go now. Well, that Sunday Albert was home. Albert came home. Now she's narrating. They had a hot gammon. Gammon is a kind of meat. And they asked me into dinner. They also invited this friend to dinner to get the beauty of it hot. Now this again, meaningless dialogue about eating only. It means they are either talking about eating or sex. These are the two topics, of the conversation between the two close friends. Hurry up, please, it is time. Hurry up, please, it is time. Good night, love, good night, tata, good night, ladies, good night, sweet ladies, good night, good night. These are very meaningful dialogues. These give us an allusion to the tata, or say good night, or say bye bye, or by Ophelia in Hamlet. Now, just remember, those who have read Ophelia or those who have read Hamlet, they know that Ophelia is a victim in that novel, in that drama, in which she is tortured. She loves, with her heart and with her soul to Hamlet, but Hamlet is his empire. Okay, so this was your second part. Now I move to the third part, that is the fire sermon. Now the writer is moving structurally his theme. That the first section, the burial of the dead. The second section was what is the name of the second section? The game of chess, and the third section is the fire sermon. Fire sermon. There are two references of fire sermon. One is from Saint Augustine, and the second one is from Lord Buddha's fire sermon. Let me give you a small brief that what is the structure of this third section. In the third section, the poet has used again the technique of chiaroscuro of juxtaposition, where ironically he's putting two things. On one hand, he's showing to us river. The rivers are the centers of civilization. All the great civilizations of the world got established on the banks of rivers like Nile, like Satluj, like this Ganga. So river is shown here, and then the writer is contrasting the modern shape of, or modern form of river, and then he's contrasting it with Thames, in the ancient time. And then he says, now I start. The river's tent is broken, the last fingers of leaf clutch and sink into the wet bank. I was showing a devastated atmosphere around the river. It means people must have visited the banks of river for picnic, but they have departed. That orgy of pleasure, amusement in the night, it is over now, and they have left behind so many different things, which gives a testimony that they had good time on the banks of river. Now the contrast starts. The wind crosses the brown land unheard. Wind is blowing, but people are now. There is a slight reference of Wordsworth here. If you though this writer T.S. Eliot was against the romantic writers. Let me give you another lecture, so that you can you can start understanding exactly how we should read writers. This the style of this poem. This poem is written in metaphysical style. Metaphysical style mean to say the writer is giving so many different images, and he is linking things, when naturally they are not linkable. And he is against the theory of poetry of Wordsworth. Everybody knows that what Wordsworth says. Wordsworth says that he was a romantic writer, and his definition of poetry is that spontaneous overflow of powerful ideas recollected in tranquility. And Wordsworth was against poetic diction also. I must tell you that this writer T.S. Eliot has criticized the theory of this poetry in his famous essay Tradition and Individual Talent. Now, why I'm linking this? Because the writer is using very easy language. He's talking in the classical sense, and he is saying that we are not paying attention to nature. On one point, the two writers are similar, because Wordsworth is also talking about spirituality which is present in nature, and this also says that if we pay attention to nature, which has the power of regeneration. So here he says, suppose I have an example, to elaborate my idea. Have you seen that these days you must have heard the news that from different cities in the plains of Ganges, the mountains and the peaks of mountains, are quite visible because of lack of pollution. Have you heard that? You have also come across one more thing, that around us, because of almost no traffic, or say noise pollution, we can hear around our houses the chirpings of the bird. In the same manner, if you go to your terrace, and suppose you are not in a hurry, you are not too much mechanical and materialistic, then you can feel air also. You can feel the wind. You can feel nature. So the writer says that today the degenerated man, sexually perverted man, materialistic man, mechanical man has no value, has no respect for nature. The nymphs are departed. Nymphs here means the girls, beautiful girls. They came with the boys. Sweet Thames run softly till I end my song. Now, this the writer has used a term, a line from Pro-Thelemian written by Spencer, in which he says that sweet Thames run softly till I end my song. The rivers bears no empty bottles. Now he's giving you that in earlier times when people used to visit river, at least they did not pollute river. But now he says, when he says that no empty bottles, it means actually there are bottles. The river bears what? Empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends, or other testimony of summer nights. Now there is a contrast. Just imagine that true lovers, when they used to meet around on the banks of river, their love was pure and they did not leave. Today, when we go on a historical place also, suppose two boys are there, they are visiting a castle. In our Jaipur, people they come from different areas of the world, and I've seen that mostly we Indians, we have the packet of chips in our hands. We are eating, we are not reading about the history of the castle, and then we throw it like anything. But I've seen that people who are coming from other countries, I've seen somewhere like they are very peculiar in knowing the places instead of consuming the chips or throwing the wrappers around. I'm not saying that we Indians are bad or they are good. I'm just simply saying that attitude towards heritage buildings. And why I'm linking this idea here, that the writer is juxtaposing. It's not me who is juxtaposing. The writer wants to give you a message by these lines, that earlier the true lovers used to meet on the banks of rivers, but their testimony was true love. And here the testimony is that when these people leave the rivers of banks, they leave something nasty behind them. So testimony means proof. The nymphs are departed and their friends, the loitering heirs of city directors. Loitering is a word which means wandering. It means they are not fixed, they are not true, they are not moral people. Heirs of city directors mean to say the nouveau riche. There is a term in French. It means you know that in there in one of other lectures of in this series I talked about the new growth in the European countries, and in America we call it roaring 20s. It means in the second decade of the 20th century there was a large growth, and people became rich. So people who are newly rich, they don't know the value of money and they are spending it on their immoral activities. That is why this line, the loitering heirs of city directors departed, boys have also departed. Today when lovers, it means their love is one night stand. Okay? It means there is no pleasure involved. There is no pleasure in the true sense of the word. It's not like it's like the pleasure whatever they had. It is an animal pleasure, and not a spiritual one, not a permanent pleasure. By the waters of Leman I sat down and wept. Now this is another allusion. This is an allusion from Byron's famous poem Prison of Shillong. This particular line, write it down. Departed have left no address by the waters of Leman. Leman is the name of a lake. I sat down and wept. There is a reference of Byron's famous poem Prison of Shillong, in which the person who was Bonnywood is the hero who was captured, who was imprisoned there, Bonnywood. So there comes the reference. They can ask you this question in your exam. So Bonnywood is shown that he is lamenting near a river. River, sweet Thames run softly, for I speak not loud, not long, but at my back in a cold blast I hear the rattle of the bones, and chuckles spread from ear to ear. It means the writer has shown again a wasteland where bones are there and ghosts are there. Somebody is laughing from ear to ear, mean to say a very someone is laughing when this way when his lips is spread and the chuckling sound comes. It means people are making the writer wants to convey by shifting this scenery, he wants to say that this kind of love, this kind of love making is actually creating a wasteland. Next stanza. Next stanza. A rat crept softly through the vegetation, dragging its slimy belly on the bank, while I was fishing in the dull canal on a winter evening round behind the gas house, musing upon the king my brother's rake and on the king my father's death before him. Now here there is a reference of Fisher King and his brother Ferdinand. He is about around. He's on sitting on the bank of the river and he is fishing. Now this. Fishing is used again as a symbol where the writer wants to convey that water, fish, these are the symbols of regeneration. But these symbols of regeneration has they have become degraded and have become perverted because the writer is juxtaposing these scenes by simply saying that today people you don't use these things. They don't use the banks of river for a spiritual awakening of them, but actually somewhere the banks of river have become places where people are cheated. White bodies naked on the low damp ground and bones cast in a little low dry garret, rattled by the rat's foot only year to year. So the writer is simply showing us, again in the material sense, the wasteland. But at my back from time to time I hear the sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Porter in the spring. Now there are two new characters in the poem. Sweeney is a person who is visiting a brothel woman. Mrs. Porter is a common name which suggests that she keeps a brothel. She runs a brothel means to say where prostitutes are there. Oh, the moon shine bright on Mrs. Porter and on her daughter. They wash their feet in soda water. This rhyming suggests that the writer wants to convey a message that they wash their feet with soda water. Mean to say they want their heels shining because they are paying more attention to their physical attraction than the spiritual well-being. They wash their feet in soda water. Then there comes line sound. This line is taken from the Parliament of Bees. Twit, 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 jug, 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 jug. As I told you in the last section that these are the sounds made by Philomel. And again, so rudely forced Taru. Taru was that king, who raped his own sister-in-law. So somewhere the writer has shown again that these people are busy in sexual activities, and these sexual activities might go up to the level of rapes also. Unreal city, again the writer's shown city. Another scene comes under the brown fog of a winter noon. Mr. Eugenides, the Cimmeria merchant, unshaven with a pocket full of currants. Another scene in which a merchant is shown. I would also like to clear your ideas about the structure of the poem. In the first section, the tarot cards were drawn, and one by one, the writer is talking about these tarot cards. As you know, that there was a card on which one-eyed merchant was there. Now, this is the same merchant, and Mr. Eugenides, the Cimmeria merchant. Now, this is the reference, of the person who brought, mercantile, many centuries back to England. The writer is simply showing that, when that merchant came to England, he brought religion and profession, or say business, together. But this merchant is on unshaven. It means he's dirty with a pocket full of currants. Currants are dry grapes. They are used to increase sexual power. So and CIF London documents at site. It means he is not allowed to business. Career insurance free documents. It means London. CIF means career insurance free. London documents at site asked me in Demotic French. Demotic French means to say local French in a dialect, to luncheon at the Cannon Street Hotel. This is a cheap hotel. During World War, this hotel was notorious for homosexual activities by the soldiers in that time, followed by a weekend at the Metropole. It means again the sterile love. There is nothing wrong. Today we have a concept of queer theory. We have a concept of homosexuality. We have throughout the world the world we talk about that if two people are gays or lesbians, they have full rights to have their own sexuality and to enjoy their sexuality. But this writer, as I told you, that is a classicist. He is giving us a reference of an unshaven merchant who is inviting the other person who must be a homosexual partner. And by this, the writer is criticizing that this kind of relationship is sterile in the sense that it is not productive, it is against nature, and it will ultimately give you only physical pleasure and no spiritual happiness, or say spiritual contentment. So at the violet hour, when the eyes and back, again, another, the poem shifts to another scene. An evening scene is shown. Violet means here evening. When the eyes and back turn upward from the desk, a girl is shown who has worked throughout the day in her as a cashier or as a clerk somewhere she must have worked. When the human engine waits, and the writer has turned a person who is working. Modern people, they work in companies. The writer has shown a girl who is termed as human engine, means quite mechanical, like a taxi throbbing. And then he compares with another image, like this girl is like a taxi. Now taxi has a connotations of like anybody can sit in that taxi. It means this girl who is a clerk somewhere, throughout the day she works, but she's waiting for someone like a taxi. I Tiresias, this question they can ask you, like in which section of this poem the reference of Tiresias directly comes. So this is the third section. I Tiresias, though blind, throbbing between two lives. Then he says that whatever the narrator of the poem, Tiresias, who he wants to show you something, but he says that I am blind. Now there is a paradox. He is blind, but as you know that he is given the power to see everything. He says that, and I am male and female also, and I am going to narrate you this incident. It means the writer has created a kind of omniscient narrator in the poem, and he will tell us the workings of the minds and hearts of the male also and the female also, because we require that, because anybody can question that somebody who is a male, how can he know about the hearts of a female? So the writer has already created a character who is hermaphrodite, or say I cannot use the word bisexual. I would say that he is someone who has sensibilities of both male and female. He says that I'm old with wrinkled female breasts. He says that I'm old and timeless, and I have throbbed between two lives. Old man with wrinkled female breast can see at the violet hour. Nobody can see in the dark, but I can see in the dark, he says, because I have prophetic vision. Old man with wrinkled female breast can see at the violet hour, that the evening hour that strives homeward and brings the sailor home from sea. Now again, there is a line which talks about the past, or say a sailor who is coming home. Now there is a great difference between a sailor, one who has waited to come home after a long journey, but the girl who is a clerk, her journey is not long, but she has come home again. So the writer has compared of a sailor and the journey of a girl from her office to her room only. The typist home at tea time in the evening, the time tea time is there, clears her breakfast in a mechanical manner. She has her breakfast, lights her stove, and lays out food in tins. Now this shows her poverty, that she is poor. Out of the window perilously spread her drying combinations touched by the sun's last rays. A beautiful scene. The writer, instead of showing like the last rays of sun in the evening, they are not touching anything in nature like tree or flowers. Instead, in the balcony of her house or in the window somewhere, she must have a cloth line on which her drying combinations, mean to say her inner garments are shown, spread over there. Now this is the inner room of a girl. You can see today we have no objection, but the writer shows. Let me give you a lecture on that what the writer wants to convey today, for the purpose of studies, for the purpose of job also. We go different state, from state to state. We change our places, but the writer says that it is rootlessness, and somewhere rootlessness creates in you lack of spirituality. You get involved in immoral activity. You can get involved in immoral activities if people don't know you there. So what the writer wants to convey, that a clerk girl who is living in a single room without parents, without family, For what? She has shifted from her home. She has shifted, or say cut out her roots just for the sake of her living. So we can't put a question mark, because we are modern generation people. We see that, we have seen long distant marriages. We have seen that husband is on posted somewhere, wife is posted somewhere, but practically we are Indian peoples. We are still, we believe in marriages, we believe in all many things. The writer is just talking about the people who have become more and more mechanical and materialistic. These kind of people have started believing, and that has become a belief, that gypsy culture has increased in the world. Globetrotters are, with us. You must have seen people of Western countries, those who keep, roaming, with their couples around. I would also remind you that Emerson, in his famous essay of Nature also, and American Scholar also, has criticized these kind of, roamings and looking at the world in the name of tourism. So it is very tough for you to understand all these ideas, because it is beyond my scope, in this nature of life class. I can't explain the things, but just imagine that if you are roaming around, you are somewhere to give some comfort to your eyes. You are fire, kind of. The writer wants to say that we are becoming, from our spirit, we are becoming more outward, and we are not going inside. So there are so many different things, I can say about these lines, that what the writer wants to show by. And as I said earlier in this lecture, that whatever scene comes to us, whatever image or whatever word comes to us in a poem, which is already canonized, or the writer one who has awarded the Nobel Prize, they are not simple writers. People do PhDs on them. Thousands of books have been written, lakhs of books have written on them. People try to understand, they are creative writers. It is said that this kind of creativity is very much akin to God. Writers are considered gods, but not from Marxist angle, because today reader response theory says that, writer is dead, and it is the reader, who can get out the meaning. But I must tell you that as scientists come with a theory and the other scientists cut it, in the same manner literary theories come and other writers wait to cut these theories also. But our overall endeavor, our effort, towards a poem should be to understand something from different angles, so that we can read between the lines, we can go into the depth of the meaning. So with this scene, the writer shows to us her bed. On the divan are piled at night her bed. That divan means, a kind of settee, a kind of sofa, where it becomes her sofa also. It becomes stockings, slippers, camisoles means umbrella, and stays are, again, inner garments. I, Tiresias, old man with wrinkled ducks. Ducks means breast. It means, the writer says that I am, twice the term Tiresias comes in the poem. Old man, I'm with wrinkled ducks, perceived the scene. I have already seen that what will happen, and foretold the rest. And he says that, I have already told you that what will happen. I too waited the expected guest. Now he becomes the girl, and he is waiting for the guest. It means she must have intimated, though there was no phone facilities were available. Then it means the writer has given us an explanation, or he has given us a suggestion, that out of anything, she must have delivered a message to a particular boy. He, the young carbuncler, arrives. Carbuncler means he has some pimples on his face. Now again, there is an in-depth analysis here. I would go. Have you seen the cook of the reference of Cook in Canterbury Tales, in the prologue of the Canterbury Tales? That Cook has pimples. People with red color pimples are called, these pimples are called carbuncles. And it shows that, you either have been eating something to improve your sexual power, or he's a young man, and he's shown like, somebody with carbuncular face arrives, a small house agent's clerk. He's also a clerk with, some house agent, with one bold stare. Now look at this particular line. Bold stare means to say no other expression. It means that he is an incarnation of sex itself, one who looks towards a girl with in a bold sense. Bold here does not mean the boldness of a soldier, or boldness of a martyr, or a boldness of a patriot, or boldness of a person who speaks truth, or a saint. It's a boldness of, like, just to attract a girl. Hey, will you come with me? That kind of, boldness. One of the low on whom assurance sits. And this line is also meaningful. Assurance sits mean to say that overconfidence is there on his face as a silk hat. This is a world famous line. One of the low on whom assurance sits as a silk hat on a Bradford millionaire. In England, what happened, because of the increasing urbanization, people started selling out their lands. Okay, so the people, without doing any effort, became millionaire. It happened, it is happening in India also, in the name of development. These kind of people, when they sell out their land and when they become millionaire, they become kind of confident without values. They start, spending their money in immoral activities at times. So silk hat. And so the writer is giving a reference that in England it happened those times that somebody who's using a silk, it means a costly hat, but he doesn't know how to wear a hat. I hope you understand it. Like somebody who is not rich, traditionally, one who does not have values with him, one who has become newly rich, and he uses a hat, but that hat he doesn't know how to handle. In the same manner, he has got a job, he has money, and he has newly become, young, without any values, because I think family is not with him. Or the same thing is, suitable for the, or same thing is applicable to the girl also. So low on whom assurance sits as a silk hat on a Bradford millionaire. The time is now propitious. The boy is standing somewhere, downstairs. He sees that propitious means appropriate. As he guesses, the meal is ended here in the room. The girl has finished her meals. She is bored and tired, and she feels bored and tired. Now look at this. As in the last lecture, I gave you a word, ennui. Now this, what kind of boredom is it? You must have heard people, boys, girls, children, they have started using this term, like I'm feeling bored. Never use this term, because when we say that I am bored, it means spiritually you are barren, you are totally hollow from inside, because most of the attention is outward oriented. It means something is not given to you, like some program is not coming of your choice on TV, you feel bored. You don't read anything, you have not learned to talk to your soul, you have not learned, the greater or deeper philosophy of human existence. That's why you feel bored. Boredom is a symbol of your hollowness, and many writers have written on this. Okay, so she feels bored, and endeavors to engage her in the boy. The boy arrives in her room, and she directly comes and starts caressing, means fondling the girl, touches her body, and exploring hands encounter no defense. And that girl is also indifferent. It means that mechanical and animal sex is showing to us. The girl is totally indifferent. She doesn't, say anything, which still are unreproved if undesired. She does not desire that the boy touches the girl, but then she does not stop the boy also. Flushed and decided, he assaults at once, and mechanically he has sex with the girl. Assaults at once means quickly he does the sex. Exploring hands encounter no defense. His vanity requires no response. As I told you that this boy is overconfident just because he feels that. You have seen this, through advertisements, through movies. Even our best heroes, are not like the heroes of the bygone era, when they did not build up their bodies, but they were more prone to show their expressions on the screen. In the same manner, this boy is. We get confident. Okay, confident for what? If I become young, you have seen this around you, that suppose a boy who is handsome, and then a kind of confidence comes to him, and that confidence is not the confidence of knowing something, or doing greater good to the larger humanity, not proving himself a better human being for the world. not no confidence, for other things, which are meaningful. That confidence, that he is able to perform sex, that kind of confidence. So this boy is overconfident and bold, and I think cruel also, because the girl must have shown some response, when he becomes a bit harsh in the sexual activity. But that boy, he does not his vanity requires no response. Vanity means conceit, or say pride, and makes a welcome of indifference. And he's happy if that girl becomes indifferently passive. And I, terraces have four suffered all enacted on the same divan or bed. I who have sat by keeps below the wall and walked among the lowest of the dead, bestows one final patronizing kiss and gropes his way, finding the stairs unlit, dash, dash, dash. This is a world famous scene in which the writer has shown that the boys finish the sex and then he comes down. It is shown that in the staircase of this woman's house is unlit. It means he's shown going down in darkness. Down means hell. Christian idea of hell is downward. So gropes his way, it means he doesn't know where is he going. The writer shows symbolically that he's going in hell. He will be doomed forever if this kind of sexual activity, sterile activity, without any without marriage, so there are so many different ideas, the writer wants to convey. She turns and looks a moment in the glass, and now he shows that what happens with the girl. He says that the girl is indifferent, she is also mechanical. She gets up, look in her mirror, hardly aware of her departed lover. Now, what is the significance of looking in the mirror? That she is more concerned that her hair is okay, her hair is not disturbed. Though her body is disturbed, her soul is disturbed. She has moved astray from the path of a girl who is not considered to be good in a society if she performs sexual activity without marriage. But then that is not the matter of her concern. Her concern is like her hair is okay or not. Hardly aware of her departed lover, and she doesn't know whether he has left or not. Her brain allows one half-formed thought to pass. Well, now that is done, and I'm glad it is over. And what she thinks, like, it is okay. She's glad that it is over. It means how mechanical she is. When lovely woman stoops to folly and paces about her room again alone. Now there comes the reference of one particular writer, that is the Goldsmith. You must have heard the name of Goldsmith, William Goldsmith. His novel Vicar of Wakefield. In the Vicar of Wakefield, what happens that the women who fall from their standard prescribed life of a woman, Christian prescribed life of a woman, they commit suicide. So the writer shows that Vicar of Wakefield by Goldsmith is a very famous work. Many questions come in net from this work also. So the writer wants to convey a message that in Vicar of Wakefield, a woman, if she stoops, it means she moves down or moves away from her prescribed path of Christianity, they commit suicide. But here this girl is not about to commit suicide, because for her this kind of activity is nothing. It's just like a common other day. Paces about her room again alone. She smooths her hair with automatic hand and puts a record on the gramophone. So there is a contrast that she puts a gramophone, and she is not. She is least concerned that she has gone away from the prescribed form manners, which are fixed in for a girl in Christianity and other religion. So it's already 1 hour and 5 minutes. I can't extend this lecture now. So friends, I will come again live at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I'll be reading the next part of this poem. Please give me 2 more days so that I can teach this poem thoroughly to you. This is considered to be the most important document of modern ages. Thank you. That's it. Namaskar.